Listen here, y'all. We got a lot of books to talk about. So let's just go ahead and roll the intro, and then I'll tell you what it's all about. Okay, welcome. This is the officially unofficial geek channel, Spoilertastic Weekly Comic Review. We did this a little bit later than usual this week because we have a lot of books to talk about. Holy crap, and I didn't even read everything I wanted to read. But I did get everything done for the most part. I'll play catch up later with other stuff, so don't worry. I got a spiced apple cider here with me this week. Yep. Mm-mm-mm. So let's get into it. Guys, as always, this is the Spoilertastic Weekly Comic Review because um sometimes spoilers come out when you're talking about comic books, and that's why I go ahead and I call this the Spoilertastic Weekly Comic Review, so that we can kind of avoid all that unpleasantness. Um but anyways, I try to keep it as spoiler light as possible. Um but as always, these are in no particular order, and only until they're in no particular order, only until I get to my top three comics of the week. And guys, there's some good ones here. But let's go ahead, let's get into it. First one we're going to talk about is the second Rare Flavors number two, Felipe Andrade, that art and the words by Ram V. Um, we are continuing this awesome little tale. This is the second issue. I feel like I've gotten three because I got like the tasting menu, then I got the full first issue, and then I got this. But so we have a really interesting tale involving a demon that eats human flesh, wanting to do a um food series documentary, kind of like Anthony Bourdain. In fact, he heard that Anthony Bourdain had died, and now he was going to go make his mark in the world of culinary, you know, export, you know, things, right? So each issue has a particular kind of episode, almost to the documentary series where they have um, you have the main character, the main narrator, which is the demon, and he is writing a journal, but it's also kind of like he's sending letters to his cohorts back home where he's from, talking about everything that he's doing while doing, this documentary, talking about his interactions with other people, what he eats along the way. And there's always like a recipe in there. In each, like the two books so far, there's been a recipe. Um, I would love to see someone go ahead and put that out there in a video here on YouTube. I personally not much of a cook. I'm learning a little bit now, but not much of a cook. So somebody that has those chops should try that. I think so. I would watch it. Anyways, next book that we're going to talk about, because we're going to try to get these, like, we're trying to get these through, trying to get through these. We're going to talk about Detective Comics, which is going either weekly or bi weekly starting this week. With This is issue 1075, so issue 1076 is coming out tomorrow. Um, this is Rom V, Francavilla, in the backup story by Dan Waters, Campbell, and DePelshi. I'm going to say DePelshi, even though it looks like I'm trying to say it Depeche without saying Depeche, like Depeche Mode, because it looks a little bit like Depeche, but it's Depeche. I'm pretty sure. I might be wrong with that one. I apologize if I'm wrong. Um, but we have um, the beautiful cover A, the Evan Kagel cover A, because that's all you really need is this beautiful cover A. Like, it's gorgeous. Um, so Batman has been affected by the Asmere, and the Argums are trying to find him and following his um, kind of, weird journey. Um, basically, um, Bruce Wayne, this is your life. Kind of stops. Like, it's like if you took like a little tour bus and you took the tour, right? But the tour was fashioned after This Is Your Life, that old game show. This would be like Bruce Wayne's This Is My Life, except it's not lighthearted and funny. It's not happy, lighthearted, and funny. His parents died. Okay, everybody knows where Batman comes from. So let's just leave it at that. Um, and then you have uh, um, the two police investigators, detectives looking for him as well. We have a whole double cross. We have a not a cross, double cross. The double cross would indicate that there would. I guess maybe it's a double cross. Sorry, my alarm went off there. I guess maybe it would be a double cross. Um, yeah, that all results in Prince Arkham realizing Batman's actual identity is Bruce Wayne, y'all. So he knows now. And yeah, pretty much, yeah. Um, Dan Waters, I don't want to say too much about the second story in there, though it is impressive and wonderful. And Dan Waters, I don't know, he might be auditioning to write some Bat books in the future if I do say so, let me tell you. Wouldn't mind seeing that happen based on what I've been seeing lately from that guy. Um, the Villa artwork, in particular in this one, and I believe if I'm remembering correctly, Villa has been doing the retro looking um, Joker secondary story. The Man Who Stopped Laughing, that second story, I believe they are the one that's been doing the retro looking art for that one. And in this one, it really fits with that like nighttime retro like comic book look to it, 60s, that kind of thing. Really liking it. And I liked that that was in there for this tale where it's going kind of like the weird, demented Bruce Wayne, this is your life, while he's running around affected by the Asmere in his Batman clothes. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I was liking it very much. Speaking of liking it very much, we're going to go on to Penguin number 3. This is not the only Tom King book that we're going to be talking about this week, obviously, but we're going to talk about this book in particular right this moment because this has been solid each and every month it has come out. This is the third month it's come out. It's been a solid story, enticing me to come back for more. Um, this is basically what happens when a guy tries to put together his life again and he has what he wants. And what's the one thing that can make you go back to the life you don't want anymore? And it's for him, it's like there's a switch. You do this, and this, it flips his switch. And that's exactly what's happened with the Penguin. That's exactly what's happened with Oswald. And Oswald has now been kind of building his team. Some really great continuation of some really great um, continuity that's happening across, in particularly the Gotham books. Um, So I would consider this a Gotham book because, it's got the bat insignia. It's the penguin. The penguin is generally a Batman rogue. So the Gotham books have been doing little moments here and there of continuity in between themselves. Anything that's taking place presently, anything that you can tell um, can be taken seriously as being something that could be in continuity, they are making strives to make sure everything comes, together like that. In particularly, they mention not specifically like Batman, Catwoman, Gotham War, but they mention specifically what Selena Kyle has been doing in Gotham in regards to that storyline. Um, Let me tell you real quick. I mentioned Tom King, but we got Tom King, De La Torre, and Manola on this book, where you have, like I said, the Penguin is getting together his crew, and he is going to take, as it says on the cover, the Force of Liberty, the Force of July, the Force of July group. He has now put them back together, and they are going to be basically his henchmen. So, yeah, it's on. The next book we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about Dawn of DC, Amazon's Attack Number One. Now, this is kind of a complementary piece to what's going on with Wonder Woman, which we'll be talking about later. Um, this is basically it's what are the other Amazons doing in this whole situation where the United States government has banned Amazons from its shores. If you read the first Tom King Wonder Woman, you know that an Amazon killed some guys that were assaulting her in a bar. And now nobody realizes that, or slash nobody cares. And the Mascarans, Amazons, all that are now banned from the United States. Wonder Woman's not having that. She's like, no, no, I'm not having that. And she's trying to figure out what she can do to help on her own. This is basically Nubia has been um, invited to speak with the President of the United States. Now, um, I'm pretty sure everyone reading this knew that that was a bad idea to go there. Bad idea. Hugely bad. Bad, 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 bad. Okay, because here's the thing. You got Nubia. She's been summoned to go to talk to the president. Bad enough. But you have the other two fractions of the Amazons having their own feelings about what's going on as well. So they have sent representatives as well. And then when everything starts going awry, Mary Marvel, Shazam, um, starts getting involved as well. And now they're all kind of stuck, I think, in New York. And now the United States government, possibly some other governments, all want to come get them because there's something going on, an outward source that's affecting everything else happening. The Amazons are seeing that, but nobody else is seeing that yet. Isn't this a cute mug? I got this as part of my birthday gift from my sister. And it's all like a bunch of kitties dressed in Halloween costumes. And I love it. Okay, so the next book that we're going to talk about is Superman Action Comics number 1058. Johnson, Sandoval, and Herms. The Steve Beach cover. I can't seem to shake it. But here it is. I don't like these covers. But okay. To be completely honest with you, I only had really interest in the first story where we have the Blue Earthers have effectively kind of um, lack of a better term, they've kind of bottled the essence of Superman and gave it to somebody else, and now Superman is basically fighting himself without having his own powers and everything that that entails. Um, that's the basic gist of that. And he needs help. He gets help um, from a boy Steel, yeah, um, to continue fighting this whole situation. Um, got some perks in this fight from being the new CEO of Supercorp. Yeah, see, it's working out for you, Superman. It's possibly working out for you. Um, and let's see here. The Super Twins having a rough time in school. And yeah, I mean, there was nothing earth-shattering about this issue. Nothing absolutely extraordinary. It was just it was a good read. That's all. Nothing really extraordinary. Just a fun read. That's all. That's all. Um, okay, so before you all sit there and think, I just like everything. I like everything. I'm going to show you a book that I absolutely did not like at all. At all. This one right here. This is American Mythology Productions Witchhammer #1. Who wrote this? Who wrote this? So it doesn't say right on the cover. And that annoys me. That's a advertisement there on the back for another book that they do. Mark, okay, here we go. Mark Sparicio, artist Mark Sparicio, colorist Mark Cohn, and Lucino Cortez Diaz, letterer, since I've got all this information here, Paula Padilla, um, and I've got the cover B here that's Adrian Rope. Um, so if you are doing a period piece, okay, you need to make sure, and if it's an actual, like if you are giving a year, okay, it needs to look like the year, okay? And I'm saying this because this one does not look like the year. A good portion of this takes place in 1938. And the women that are drawn in this comic do not, to me, look like women that are walking around New York City in 1938 in the middle of winter in 1938. And I'm going to say that that really does take me out of the story quite a bit. The only thing that looks 1938 in this book is the Nazis running around. Legit. That's the only thing that looks like 1938 in this book is the Nazis running around. Um, and honestly, like when I'm sitting there and you make an attempt to build a world, okay, and that world takes place in 1938, but nothing looks 1938. I don't give. I don't care. I don't care what the story is about. There's some big bluish monster with horns. I don't. What? Whatever. The thing is like you have a story, and part of that story is involves, in certain circumstances, world building. So if you're taking something out of the present, what's supposed to be interpreted as present day, putting it in another like past, okay, anything that specifically is building that expectation of it being 1938, and it doesn't look 1938, that's a problem. You might as well. You could have legit put this in present day. I wouldn't have noticed. You could have omitted every year except for when it goes into the very far past. Okay? And just had people walking around. You had some Proud Boys walking around or something like that with Nazi symbols, on their shirts or whatever. And it could have been the same thing as being in here today now. Like literally, women wearing their hair. Like, I'm wearing my hair right now. Just down and, not really styled and that kind of thing. Women not wearing gloves in the middle of winter. Um, Women without anything done. Their hair looks like it's now. Okay? Style from the 1930s, especially 1938, even though, yes, it was the Great Depression, the style is completely different. There are just things that you didn't do, or there are just things that you wore. There's just things that happen in a certain way involving the way things looked. And it didn't work in this book. It just didn't work. Okay, so next one we're going to talk about is Batman Beyond Neo Gothic. I'm really enjoying the chemistry between Terry and Kyle. You get a little bit more information about where Kyle is coming from in regards to being a bit of a magic user. What we found out previously is that Kyle is a magic user, and he was taught by Constantine. He was taught by John Constantine. And yeah, taught by John Constantine. And John Constantine kind of screwed him over so he could die. But you found out that maybe John Constantine really isn't dead. They defeat the Batman from below together, Kyle and Terry. And yeah, so I'm really, they're like, okay, so we're going to figure this out and we're going to find the missing children, because that's another thing, right? And we're going to figure this out and we're going to take care of this. We're going to do this together. And this has been really entertaining. Very solid. Lanzig, Kelly Dunbar, and Briedo. Um, this one right here. This is Max Dunbar and Sebastian Chang for this cover. Yeah. Buried by the Batman beneath. All right. Moving on, we're going to talk about Harley Quinn number 33. Um, More multiversal travel. Harley Quinn in Captain Carrot's world has been murdered, but it's cartoon physics. She's gonna come back to life, but the problem is they have this investigator that's kind of like a robot version of the Question, is trying to solve what's going on, because they think that, again, just kind of like with Stephanie Phillips' run, the somebody's trying to kill different multiverse of Harley Quinn. Um, This would work better if we didn't just have this story. Um, at the end of Stephanie Phillips's run of Harley Quinn, this would work better if we didn't just have that story. Um, and it feels like it's a continuation of the other multiversal showdown involving Harley, in where literally Harley was killed and then brought back to life, and then there was a bunch of, Harley's getting killed in other multiverse situations. So she's dealing with the fact that she doesn't trust the Queen of Warworld, and which doesn't make much sense also. um there's definite connections to things going on in the Poison Ivy book. Janet from HR is mentioned, um, which is in the Poison Ivy book. Um, yeah. Um, all in all, kind of just there are points about it that are entertaining. I didn't give the writers and stuff. That is Teeny Howard and Sweeney Boo with the art. Um, the art is quite lovely. The story, I feel like we just did something similar. Um, I still love that Harley is a teacher at a university. Um, that's something I would have done if I ever wrote her character. Is find some way for her to become a lecturer at a college level. I would have done that, but alas, Sweeney Boo and Teeny Howard beat me to it. Um, Next book we're going to talk about is Hallows Eve #1, The Big Night. This is a one shot. And the whole reason I got it is because I was intrigued by the character of Hallows Eve, but I did not get her miniseries. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to check this out. I'm going to see. And I kind of like the concept of the character. So if there's another miniseries that comes out, Hallows Eve, I'm probably going to pick it. So basically, Hallows Eve is a character where she's kind of a villain, but also in this issue, she's kind of not. She has a bag of masks, and she just basically reaches her hand in, whatever she pulls out, she wears, and she gets their powers, their abilities. For instance, in this situation, she's trying to help these people that are under attack, um, because an outside force has turned some of them into monsters, and she goes and she puts her hand in her bag, pulls out a mask, and it's Captain America's mask. So it's a mask of Captain America. So she puts it on. She's got all of Captain America's traits. She reaches in her bag, pulls out a mask that's Incredible Hulk. She puts it on. She's like the Hallows Eve version of Incredible Hulk. Um, so on and so forth. So I really did appreciate the storyline. I do like the character. So if there was another miniseries or something like that, I definitely would probably consider picking that up. Just yeah. So the creative team on this one is Schultz, Dowling, and Reber. Um, and yeah, very much like this. I like this character. I like it. Yeah. Anyways, guys, moving on, because like I said, we got a lot to talk about. We still have quite a bit to go. Green Arrow. The next Green Arrow issue, we're still trying to get him home. He ends up in a situation where he has to fight an older version of himself. And unfortunately, that older version of himself is probably not legit because the older version gets tricked into giving himself away. Then he ends up in a position where he's fighting a bunch of them. Now we've got um, Roy and Cheshire Cat trying to figure out how they're going to get everything going on their end to help Leon, their daughter, who is stuck in this whole situation of different universes, different times, and that kind of thing. Connor is there and he's trying to figure out how to help it. Him and Leon are trying to figure out what to do on their end. And then you've got everything going on with Oliver trying to fight multiple. I mean the cover kind of, yeah, multiple Olivers. Yeah. Still trying to figure out how he gets his way home. And he's still working on it, y'all. It's not working out too well yet, but he's still working on it. All right, let's keep on going. We're going to go with the 7th issue of the Unstoppable Doom Patrol. A little bit of surprise at the end. You got to keep on turning. Make sure you got to the end of the book because it kind of fakes you out there. Doom Patrol will return. Then you turn the page. I think literally it's you turn the page and you see more. Let me see here. That was a fake out. Yeah. Doom Patrol will return. And then you turn the page and there's an advertisement. A full two-page advertisement for some DC manga. And then you get back here with the candle face dude, right? And he is dropped in what looks like kind of like a little Wild West type of situation. It looks kind of Wild West. It looks like it's like a desiccated small town, and runs into something. Literally. Like, they do this whole fake out. And if you didn't keep turning, like seriously, when you're and this is something that, like, if they come back and they end up having to meet up with this character, they're gonna be like, where did this come from? If they didn't get past this line right here. Um just being like the Doom Patrol will return. That makes it seem like the end. This is just, like the story itself was fun to read and I loved it and I still love where everything was going with Doom Patrol. But honestly, like if somebody closed their comic book after this because they didn't care about articles or um manga, manga's very lovely, but if they didn't care about manga, they wouldn't have seen that. And then incidentally, who's talking to the dude? I say spoilertastic. Guys, look at this. It's the Batwoman who laughs. Okay? And it says the end, question mark. Like, oh, is that the end? Because turn the page again. Yeah, okay, this is officially the end. Um, a solid series, though, overall. Would like to see more Doom Patrol in the future very soon by Culver, Durham, and Reber. Did I say that already? Or was Reber on this one? No. Oh, you know what? I did not say the people that wrote Green Arrow. That'd be great if I could say the people that wrote Green Arrow. Where did I see? Oh, Reber was Hollow's Eve. Williamson, Ayaska, Hester Parks, and Fajara Jr. on Green Arrow. And like I said, Culver, Burnham, and Reber on Doom Patrol. Um, they left it pretty open ended, so that they definitely could come back to what they were doing. Um, so that's good. Leave them wanting more, right? Um, the art has been obviously done, I think, by the same person on every issue. Same, concept of coloring. It was a very cohesive unit. This will make a very good, if you ended up not reading this in series of Doom Patrol, this would make a very good, solid um, trade for you to pick up either at your library or just to buy. Um, or once the trade publishes, if it happens to end up on Comixology, that's also a possibility as well. Or reading it on DC Universe when everything is on there. Um, Reading it like a trade paperback. Okay, so like most of the time when people read trade paperbacks, they may stop, issue to issue. I do that sometimes myself. But it is meant to be read as one cohesive unit much more rather than several separate issues. So I think that because of it being so cohesive with the story, the concept of the story, and the storyline, it's going to read very nicely in a trade. So if you did not pick up Doom Patrol while this run was going on, consider picking it up for when it comes to trade paperback time. Yeah. So let's go ahead and let's talk now about Batman, Catwoman, The Gotham War, Red Hood #2. Um, this is basically not a um, it's not really a continuation of the story. It's like we're popping back in, we're filling in holes related to the Red Hood story. And more of this continuity stuff. We've got stuff bleeding in from the Joker book, The Man Who Stopped Laughing. We got stuff bleeding in from that, and basically saying, hey, Red Hood, you're going to see him again in number 12 of that series. So be on the lookout for that if you're interested in finding out about that and finding out how Jason Todd is going to work with what's going on with him right now. But this filled in some holes from the story, in particular about what's going on involving Jason. The team on this is Rosenberg, um, oh my goodness, Zayamea and Locus. This cover is Carmine Di Gianameneso. Meneco. I torture people's names sometimes. I give them the best I can. But sometimes you can't. Sometimes you can't help. Um, if you're looking for this to, if you stayed away from this and you're looking for this to progress the overall story, you really don't need it. Unless you're really interested in Jason Todd. I really like Jason Todd, so I read it. But yeah. Ooh, something really cool in this, since it's kind of like drawing some things together. I was a fan of the Task Force Z comic, particularly that had Jason Todd leading a group of zombie reanimated characters. One of the things that was going on is Harvey Dent, Two-Face was trying to um go straight, right? Not like straight like he's gay, no, but like straight like he was a gangster and now he's, gonna be on the other side of the law. And he led a task force C, which is basically Jason Todd was the group leader of a group of zombie um, characters fighting different things. And there was different really cool moments in that. And there's a moment where Two-Face and Black Mask are talking about Jason Todd. And Harvey Dent like has quite a bit of respect for Jason, for Red Hood, and mentions Task Force C. They mention Task Force C in this book. It's so cool. But they mention Task Force C, and back at the end of Task Force C, it left me wondering because just kind of how things worked out. It left me wondering if it was Harvey Dent that let Jason go or if it was Two Face that let Jason run off and leave without being in trouble. And I was wondering for a while, like, which one was it? And this kind of gives me the indication there, in this book, that it was Two Face, out of respect for Jason, let him go, which is weird. But again, I'm loving the connections that are happening, that are happening a lot easier and a lot better. Um, I don't know what's happening in DC Comics, but it's happening there, and I like it. Another thing that's been happening in DC Comics, and we're going to talk about the next book, um, which is, excuse me, the last book that we're going to talk about before we get into my top three. And I love it. It was so good. A while back on the channel, I did a first appearance of Alan Scott, the first Green Lantern. And they just reprinted that first appearance as a facsimile, and now to be released, with the new Green Lantern, Alan Scott Green Lantern series. This is number one. We got a team on here. We've got Sheridan, Tormey, and Herms. I think Tormey and Herms are definitely two names that you've already heard me mention tonight. Definitely Herms. Um, Over the last few years, lots of things have happened in Alan Scott's storyline overall, as the original Green Lantern. Um, One of the major things that happened is that he kind of came out of the closet, meaning he is gay. Um, so this story is really cool because it takes place back in the days right before he became the Green Lantern, and then also after he became Green Lantern. And he's being coaxed by the FBI, by Hoover, in 1941, to join up and be with the JSA. And he's like, no, I kind of like working alone, blah, blah, blah. Well, Hoover basically is like, oh, well, we know plenty about you. We got pictures of you being all gay. It's basically what happens. That's basically what happens. They decide that in 1941, because it's still a big no-no, still big taboo, illegal in some places, to be gay. Just to be gay, to act gay, to do gay things, that it's illegal. Which I know now it seems like, it seems weird to say that just in 1941 there were places in the world where being gay was just plain illegal. But it was, very honestly, that's how it was, y'all. Um, and he gets the information that Hoover knows that he's gay. So call it what you will, you know. He basically gets, um let's see here. How do I want to put this? He basically gets blackmail presented to him, and he's either going to act on what they want him to do or not. But you get a little backstory about this man, that Alan Scott served with in the military that he had fallen in love with, and the man had fallen in love with him as well, and they were secretly together as a couple in the military. And there's a horrible tragedy that happens involving the Crimson Flame. The Crimson Flame grabs his lover, Alan Scott's lover, and pulls him away, only for Alan Scott many years later to discover in a trying to remember what the crime was, but to discover at the scene of a crime the body of his love. Now, granted, the first part happens in like 1936. This is in the book. And then you have the thing happening with Hoover in 1941. Okay, so yeah, that is like 6 years? 6 years in between the last time he saw this dude. Yeah. Um, but one of the things I've been liking about DC is them bringing some of their golden age products back into a little bit of a limelight. And here we have Alan Scott, who debuted in the Golden Age era. And like I said, I did a review of his first appearance. It's one of my Carrie Reads, what we call it, videos. And yeah, so this cover, however, is not done by the people that are in the book. This is David Toluski, and I just think it's gorgeous. Take a look at that. That's very pretty. I'm liking the whole attention being paid to some older Golden Age properties right now. The original Sandman, Alan Scott, um, Jay Garrick. Um, yeah, I like that. I like that stuff very much. Okay, guys, so here's the thing. We have gotten to the point where we are going to be talking about my top three comics. I'm going to try to keep this as quickly as possible because we're already at almost 47 minutes. Um, but let's go ahead and get into it. This is the top three. This is my top three books of the week. We're going to start with my first issue of Ice Cream Man. Oh, golly. Ice Cream Man number 37. The guys in the monthly comic review are going to be very proud. They're going to be very proud of me for reading this finally. Um, Yeah, so guys, before I say anything really big about Ice Cream Man number 37, I'm going to tell you this is a trigger warning right now because this does deal with ideations of unaliving um, yourself and that kind of thing. So, trigger warning when it comes to Ice Cream Man number 37, there's some of that in there. So basically, you have a side by side storytelling of these two siblings dealing with the aftermath of their brother's death by suicide, by unaliving himself, excuse me, and set alongside a unpublished story because he was an artist and writer, cartoonist, an unpublished story about his characters, the Figgly Bumps, and these little guys here going to war, and they get massacred in the war versus some like cold, unfeeling robots. And there's a lot of symbolism in there, and it's just it's hard to talk about exactly how I'm feeling about this as somebody that has struggled with those thoughts before. I've struggled with depression, all those things. Um, it's hard for me to sit here and get all philosophical about something like that. Um, but the juxtaposition of the story of somebody making the sacrifice of themselves, um, and the two people left afterwards to pick up the pieces, um, having varying different ideas on what their brother's act of unaliving meant. Um, versus the sacrifice of the Figgly Bumps to go to war, um, and possibly sacrifice themselves for the war effort to help their kind. And what is selfish and what is not selfish about those situations. And you have one, particularly with the brother story, you have the brother and sister cleaning up his stuff afterwards. And you see, you get the idea she's very angry. She thinks he's selfish. And then he's going to go to hell because he's selfish and you're not supposed to kill yourself and all that stuff. Um, and then you have the brother who was like, no, our brother who unalived himself was not a selfish person. A lot of people that end up in that position of desperation are there in part because they feel that the world would be better off without them, that they're a burden to people in their life. So I'm going to tell you this right now. That's exactly the way a lot of that goes. I can't speak for everyone. I can only speak for myself. And I can say that I have heard other people say this. That is exactly how that goes down. Um, there's a battle that goes on in your brain where you have one side of you that's completely logical in the situation. I don't know if I want to say logical, but it's your normal kind of like base level mind. Okay? That's probably more accurate to say it like that. Because, you could want bad things for yourself and have completely logical way of thinking of it. Um, but the idea that there are usually two minds about all of that. You have the not I'm not using logical. You have the baseline um, thought processes, which are normal, which pretty much are just the ones that get you through the day from day to day, and then you have the ones that are deep and dark and can sometimes come boiling over. And those deep and dark ones usually are the ones that tell you that you're a burden, that the world would be much better if you weren't around, and all those things. And though those can get you thinking in such a way that you think you're really actually helping people out, and really it's a lie. It's a lie because it just is. All right. Um, and I'm gonna end talking about um, Ice Cream Man one by telling you it's by Prince Moraz and Halloran. Okay. Um, it's number 37. It's an anthology series, so like you can just jump in wherever. Um, that if you're having any problem like that, you should really there are plenty of different places where you can get help. They have a text number 988. Um, you are worthy and you are worth it. And I know sometimes I gotta tell myself that. So it doesn't hurt to just keep telling yourself that. And get help if you need it. But let's talk about Wonder Woman #2, guys. Woo! Holy moly! I told you we're gonna be talking about Wonder Woman, Wonder Woman. Okay. Um, we have it more. Okay, let's go through the people here. We have Campbell, Sempere, Jorive, Mori, and Guimarães. In the last issue, I was suspecting personally, that the narration was talking to someone that was not saying anything. And we are more specific in this issue that the narration is talking to Diana Prince, Wonder Woman's child. Which I mean, if you follow everything and you follow the news, you know that eventually we're going to, and actually we have already met. In It was one of the stories in Wonder Woman #800. We met Trinity. Trinity is said to be Wonder Woman's daughter. Um, Trinity is also in possession of 3 lassos. Okay. Um, and we saw the one of the lassos. She has the lasso of truth, the golden lasso, and she has 2 other lassos. We saw the other lasso, the black one, at the end of the first issue, with this regal character, um, kind of like a deep state kind of situation. Okay. So we are kind of like what I was talking about with Amazon's attack. The United States has um, banned Amazons from the United States due to this attack. Now we have this lovely little story where we have um, the United States Army is coming for Diana, and she's beating their butts. Okay. Um, and it does like these little flashback scenes where you see somebody fighting Diana for the right to go to man's world. And by the end of it, you get a reveal on exactly who in the past was fighting Diana. And if you need any more information about maybe you need a reminder, jump back into #1. Look at those first few pages and see if you can figure out who the woman Diana was fighting is. Um, this is absolutely beautifully written. The way that they talk about Diana, where they have the narrator talks about um, Wonder Woman, where they have so much admiration yet um, apprehension, yet also um, admiration, apprehension, and let's see here, what's the word I want to use? They have such disdain for her as well in her message that it's all kind of weird. And I'm interested to see eventually where we find the other end of that conversation, um, and why and who and how that's all going down actually in that present area of the conversation. I'm wondering exactly how soon we're going to get that. I don't anticipate it happening right away. Um, But if it did, I would probably not be disappointed. Um, we can go ahead and possibly throw some Trinity in there, kind of like this is how this went down. Because there's still question on exactly um, one, what is the third lasso that Trinity is holding? And two, how did she get that black lasso that the one dude was holding at the end of issue one? Excuse me, I have hiccups. Um, so I probably wouldn't be upset if in the next, maybe not in the third issue, but maybe in the next issue or two, we start seeing some Trinity. You know, that might be nice. But that brings us to the last book of the video here, and I gotta tell you, I got my books last Thursday. I read this one right away. I'm gonna be honest with you. I think it ruined me for books that whole entire night. Could not read anything else because it was absolutely just the most beautiful thing I have ever seen. And that is Dracula. Let's see here. Universal Monsters Dracula from the Image Skybound imprint, done by James Tinian IV and Martin Simmons. Martin Simmons, you stud, okay? Because this is absolute brilliance, mastery of skill, gorgeous. I love the concept of the story where if you are familiar with the Bela Lugosi Dracula, Dracula as a whole, almost, but specifically the Bela Lugosi Universal Monsters Dracula. I love that film. And if you love that film, you're going to love this because it fills in these little places that are not seen in the movie. Okay? Fills in these little places. First of all, the art one makes Renfield look like a demented Buster Keaton, and I'm not saying that as a negative. I'm saying that as a positive. A demented Buster Keaton. Okay, there are pages that are not even don't have any freaking dialogue whatsoever. It's just art, and you're seeing the wolf turn into Dracula. Dracula hunting. It's so cool. You're seeing Mina and Lucy having a private conversation with each other. It's so, oh my, there's like, if you have a copy nearby of Dracula, or if you haven't seen it yet, or you've been on the fence about whether you want to get something that's based on a Universal Monsters, another one, a monster book. Um, this is masterful and beautiful in the storytelling and in the art, and I can't wait for issue two. And I recommend to you, and I'm not going to show you. I am not going to show you because I'm going to resist showing you. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the exact same thing that I did with the dude in my comic book shop that I went to. Okay? My LCS, I was like, did you get to look at Dracula yet? Because that's probably the best thing I've read in a long time. And he's like, no, I have not yet. And we're sold out of it except for this 1 in 50. I'm like, man, take a look at that 1 in 50. Take a look at that variant. That ratio variant. And I was like, turn directly to the middle where the staple in the middle comes. Okay? Turn directly to that page. And I'm going to say the same thing to you. Viewer, go to your LCS. See if they've got a copy of Dracula still. Turn to the exact middle and tell me that's not beautiful enough. Tell me that's not beautiful enough for you to pick up that book and purchase it if you have the $4.99 right away. That is absolutely breathtaking. It's absolutely breathtaking. Like, and there are pages where you don't even need to hear anyone saying or hear read anyone saying anything, um, because it is just gorgeous. And you're just seeing what's going on, what you don't see in the movie. And wow, I didn't think anything could compliment the movie Dracula, the Bela Lugosi Universal Monsters Dracula any more than this just has. It's so anyways, guys, that's about it for me. Check out the description for some things going on right now. I just recently released a book of poetry and short fiction, Woke Bitch. You can find the information for it down below. My friend is, I believe, still collecting for their GoFundMe. Jen, please go ahead and make sure that you're giving, if you can, first to Jen, and then if you have anything left over, go buy my book. Um, go to her first, then buy my book. Okay. Um, but then, also go and vote. Right now, we're in the last little time period of voting for the CBC Awards, where I'm nominated for Best Unknown Channel. Do it. Yeah. Anyways, guys, that's about it for now for the Spoilertastic Weekly Comic Review. I appreciate you being here with me for a whole 5 minutes and almost 6 seconds. So, at that, let's go ahead and just, until next time, keep your eyes and ears open. If you see something, say something. Remember, the complacent never make a difference. Until next time, I'll be seeing ya. My name is Carrie. This is the Spoilertastic Weekly Comic Review. This is the officially unofficial geek, and I'll be seeing ya. Bye.